Hey guys, it's Ted Bogert back with the Ted Show. You know how much I love musical guests because I'm an aspiring musician. I'm not, but I want to be, and I love music. And so I love to bring on anybody who's willing to share their story, talk about their journey, explain their music and their passion. And I'm very happy to have Phoebe Silva on the show today. Welcome, Phoebe. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. I was saying I like your background. Mine looks like normal bedroom with nothing behind me. Sorry, guys, you're just gonna get that for a few days.
This is my
Um,
bedroom too, and I've spent over the last 7 months, I've curated my bedroom to seem very like a thing that you would want to look at while I'm live streaming. And
yes,
all
and
the messy stuff is
meanwhile,
on the other side of the
that
camera,
I
so
need to
no one can
figure
see the
like I
mess.
had these great little backgrounds behind me, but I took them down to clean stuff up and I haven't
Mm.
put them back. But you can see my fan back on this corner, and there's a painting I haven't put away on that corner. It's crazy. Okay, enough about my not neatness. Let's talk about you. We're going to hear you perform later on, but people love origin story. They want to know kind of your journey. Were you born with the gift of music? Did you perform in front of your family as a kid? Or was this something you kind of learned as you went? So give us a
Yeah.
little background.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I was born into a musical family, or music loving family, big time. My mother is a violin teacher, and her mother was a violin and piano teacher as well. So
Wow.
I'm now a third generation Suzuki violin teacher, which was never my intention because they put the tiny violin in my hands when I was 3 years old. And by the time I hit like puberty, I was taking voice lessons and was getting into theater and stuff. And so I was like, rebelling for me was like, I'm not going to be a violinist. I'm not going to be a violin teacher. But I am and still and continued through that. But I went to college for musical theater. That was I like wanted to be on Broadway. That was my thing. And I was in New York for about almost 8 years, through most of my 20s, and I was pounding the pavement like on the Broadway track. I didn't quite make it. But I did a lot of like indie underground theater and stuff in New York. And then in my late 20s, I like was kind of bored. I was going through a breakup. A friend of mine reached out to me and asked if I wanted a job performing at a dinner theater in Alaska outside of Denali National Park. And I was like, yeah, that sounds fun. I'm bored
Why
with New
not?
York, so I'll go to Alaska and see some mountains and some moose and some bears. So I did that in
That's
2013.
so brave. Were you nervous at all to give up? Because New York and LA are where you really pound the pavement,
Yeah.
and then Alaska, that seems like such a crazy but wonderful detour.
It was definitely not something I ever would have imagined for myself in a million years. I'm totally a city kid, but I was just at a point in my life where I was ready for an adventure. And so I was like, sure, why not? Adventure. And it was a job. So I was there for like 5 months and I was performing at a dinner theater and making money and drinking a lot of beer because they have really good beer in Alaska and a lot of whiskey. And that was where I ended up falling for a guy that I was working with who's a musician and an actor, and he hosted this open mic night at this local bar near where we were living. And so that was when I started kind of actually gigging, like and moving from acting and singing as like an actor performer to picking up my violin again, which I had still played, but mostly only if I got an acting gig where they wanted me to play or they needed me to play. But I first started kind of learning how to jam with this dude in Alaska and then writing songs with him, and the two of us ended up forming a duo for a while. So we performed on the road a bit and around Alaska, and then that relationship fell apart about 5 years ago, and I was pretty done with New York at that point and pretty done with acting. I was like, I just don't think this is for me. Like, I want to feel like I'm a very versatile kind of creative person. Like I'm not just into one thing or another. Like I paint and I make visual art and I'm a
Oh,
musician
you're a
and
real
I do all this.
creative.
Yeah, and I wanted to be able to really like flex all of my creative muscles, and I felt very limited pursuing the acting thing. So I moved to LA after I decided to quit acting, which I'm really glad that which is like not the normal story, but
That's not the normal way it
no.
goes.
It was the right choice for me. And the music scene in LA is very exciting. The indie scene is really cool and was thriving. I think is still thriving, obviously, in people's bedrooms and studios and stuff now.
Yes.
No longer in music clubs at the moment, but hopefully that'll all come
How did
back
you
next year.
pivot? Before we went live, we talked about that, and we had some questions about that. I think musicians, artists, performing artists, anybody who depended on some sort of live audience as part of what they do, needed to pivot. So, how did you manage to go from performing, which is where I know you get energy, you get feedback, you get
Absolutely.
that creative juices. There's so much to it. How did you pivot when all of a sudden you could only do it through stuff like this?
It's been really hard, and I've watched, I mean, obviously I've had my own personal experience with it. I've watched a lot of my musician friends in my kind of network navigate that shift in their own way. A lot of us were doing a lot of live streams initially just to kind of stay engaged. And I'm a singer songwriter, and so I perform my own music, but I'm also a session player, so I play violin live with lots of artists around LA. And it wasn't like a huge source of my income at the beginning of this year, but it was some income. And so I was used to playing like I was used to playing out at least 3 nights a week. So like last year I figured out that I played over 100 gigs in
Wow.
2019, and I think I've played like 10 this year like in real life, because then we couldn't do it. So for me, I definitely felt like part of me was a little relieved, honestly, to not have as much to show up for, because I tend to work myself like into the ground just because I really like being productive and I like being active. I have a lot of energy. But it was kind of nice for me to kind of take like a few steps back from performing, because the live stream thing just doesn't feel the same as, unless you're somebody who's built up like a huge online following. I have some friends who do the Twitch thing where they have like thousands of followers who watch them
Lots
and
on
comment.
Twitch, lots on
Yeah,
Patreon. But I feel like we're sort of blessed that, especially for what you do, that we were all getting used to singing live on different social media platforms and at
totally.
least utilizing that as something additional. So when that became the only way for you to engage,
Yeah.
you were at least used to doing something live or
Yeah, we had the
something.
tools, we had the platforms, and that I'm totally grateful for that. I sort of a step back from live streaming just because it's difficult. I really miss playing with my band like so much, and it's just been me in my room. And I've gotten a lot better at guitar, which is good. But I've been using a lot of the time, kind of the downtime, to really just focus on recording. So I've been recording a ton in really mini like sessions with just me and one other person, producing and engineering, usually like in their home studio or and so I've got like I put out 3 singles already this year, and I have 4 more songs kind of in the mixing mastering stage right now that I'm gonna, I think, release as an EP at the end, right at the end of the year. And I've been writing a
Fantastic.
ton, so I'm already like looking ahead to next year. I'm gonna make this album, and these are the songs, and these are the people. And that is the really great thing about being in LA right now is I spent 5 years kind of building a network of people that I collaborate with regularly and who are really close friends of mine too. So and people who are like musicians, everybody has some aptitude for self-production at this point. You kind of have to, especially as an independent musician, you have to be so versatile in order to be able to like really make a living. Like you can't just kind of rely on one revenue source or another. So the more versatile you are, the more you can like record your own stuff at home and send it to a producer across the country, or do like people are doing co-writing sessions like across the country on Zoom. Like, so
They
I've been,
are.
yeah, it's
People
really
love like,
rad.
and I want to add. We had a lot of questions. Again, we have a lot of aspiring musicians that like to watch this particular segment of the show. So, talk a little bit about your songwriting because that's also been interesting. The collaboration part. If you don't happen to live directly with your partner or your writing partners, everything is done via this, or
Yeah.
you're do. So what's the collaboration like when you guys are writing a song when you're not in the exact same
Yeah.
room?
Well, I'm a pretty solitary writer, so I do most of my writing on my own. And then I've been doing a lot of co-producing with friends of mine who are more experienced producers and engineers and play all the instruments that I don't know how to play or am not very good at. So I I have a lot of like, I have been fortunate to be, because I live in a small apartment with roommates. Like I don't really have a home studio set up myself. I don't really have a good place for it. But I have been fortunate to be able to get together with like one friend of mine who I know he has been, just holed up at home, and his like kind of, quarantine pod is small and mine is very small, and kind of just work one-on-one in his place. And then I actually have a really close friend from college who lives in Philadelphia. No, we went to college in Philadelphia together. He lives in New York now, but he mixes and masters all of my stuff. So I have like
Nice.
little FaceTime meetings with him or like phone calls with him to talk. And I'll get the session tracks sent to him, and then he'll mix them. And there was one time this was even before pre-pandemic. He used to live in London and work with a lot of like European DJs and stuff. And so one time he had like these artists in Italy who needed a singer songwriter to write a top line for a song that they were working on. So he was in New York, his artists were in Italy, and I was in LA, and he was like, can you write a top line? So I would like send him these voice memo demos, and then he'd be like, great, okay, so now you need to go to the studio and record your vocals. So I like got a friend of mine who works in a studio to record the vocals to send to him so he could send them to like, it's this very like weird.
You're ahead of the curve that way.
Yeah, it's only because like my network is, it's mostly based in LA these days, but I've lived a lot of places. I've toured a bunch, so I have friends kind of all over the country making music.
So what was the motivate? You have a new single that was just released Friday, I think.
Yeah.
Everything comes with a price. So give us a little background on what inspires you? Where did you come up with this particular song? And then, because I think that process is fascinating to me. Some people, they look at a TV commercial and they're motivated. Somebody has a memory. It's almost like art when you see something and you want to translate how you're feeling or how that made you feel into a song. But what motivates you? What inspires you to write?
I love that you're interested in hearing about that process, because songwriters love talking about their inspiration, and I always wonder if like anybody else thinks it's as interesting as we do.
I think it's so interesting because all of you have such a different answer. And so I'm always amazed how there's just little similarities, but in general, everybody's got this thing that just is part of them that becomes their passion. And then that passion opens up your eyes to a lot of things that you want to write down and emote out in music.
Well, I'm personally, I'm really lyric oriented. And I think that might be because I'm a singer, but I've always been a writer too. So I tend to be inspired, by ideas or experiences, and initially start with lyrics, and then kind of either like the melody comes to me in my head with the lyrics at the same time, or sometimes it doesn't, and I'll just then pick up an instrument and kind of figure out a riff or a chord progression and see if they start to like put the melody and the lyrics together. But for this particular song, when I wrote it, it's actually a little bit of an older song of mine. I wrote it like almost 2 years ago. And my style has changed a lot since then, but I was still in this very kind of jazzy retro pop kind of place. And I was inspired by an experience. So I was working at a hair salon in West Hollywood as a receptionist for a while. And it was like a busy Saturday, and I was behind the front desk, and all the stylists were working super hard. And I was just kind of sitting there answering the phone and checking people out. And this older gentleman, Indian man in a turban, came in and handed me like his card. He literally had like a business card that was like professional fortune teller. And I was like, cool. And he like just kind of zeroed in right on me as like the one person in the salon who wasn't doing anything. I later learned that this particular guy is kind of notorious around this neighborhood and goes into businesses to like solicit. At the time though, I didn't know that. And I was just like, it's very, it's very easy to kind of grab my attention if you're like kind of a kooky, out of the ordinary person with an interesting thing to share. And so he was like, I can see you're going to you've had really bad luck, but your luck is about to turn around. And I was like, I have. Great. Tell me more. I've been broke for years. Like I've been like, dealing with depression and anxiety for the last like 3 years. Tell me about my fortune. Right. And so he kind of like, I was like, great, let's connect. And he kind of would like read, palm and then this and that. And he'd tell me all this shit. And I was like, cool. And then after about a half hour, and I kept having to get up to go, answer the phone. After about a half hour, he goes, so I'm going to pray for your luck. So how much can you pay me to pray for your luck? And I was like, I didn't realize you didn't give me a price ahead of time. I thought we were just rapping here, bro. Like,
Right?
I didn't know there was money involved with this consultation here. And then he goes, how about $300? And I was like, I make like $14 an hour answering the phone. I don't have $300 to give you to pray for me. So I kind of just like gently dismissed him, and he kept coming back, like looking for me because he thought he was going to get some money out of me. I just like, I was like, if I had $20 in my wallet, I would have given it to him. I literally didn't have anything. But I got home and I was thinking about it for a while because it was so interesting. And I wrote like a little post about it on social media. And then I started, at the time I was kind of getting out of a very, very unhealthy, abusive relationship with a friend of mine. And I was feeling very spiritually and emotionally depleted. And just like I had paid such a price for like trying to love this person who just was like completely taking advantage of all of my kindness and generosity and openness, and just like completely treating me like crap in response. And so those kind of experiences dovetailed into me thinking about this concept of what is the hidden cost behind ethereal, ephemeral things that we don't think of as having a cost, like love or like magic, like prayer, like faith, like whatever, like there's, to me, this idea that there is always something you have to kind of give up in order to gain something, whether that's like, then I was thinking about it the other day, whether it's, you gain wisdom through experience, but experience is often really painful. So that's the price of wisdom, So that
I
was
love that.
That was like the inspiration. And then it turned into this like cute little, very simple, what I thought was a folk song. I think still it's a folk song, but my buddy Brian Dedlow produced it with me, and he's got a very interesting kind of musical style. He's a really incredible jazz guitarist, like absolutely phenomenal. But he also does a lot of like kind of lo-fi hip hop production. So he's got a lot of really, really interesting
It's a great combo.
Yeah, and I have a very like old school, like early 20th century songwriting, or like classic country kind of, and I'm a classically trained singer, so I have this kind of old school retro thing to me. So we like the two of us working together, it turned out in this very dreamy kind of pseudo doo-woppy, like very simple, minimal electronic percussion. It just turned out really cool. So I was really excited to put it out. I was like, I don't know what the world is going to think about this song. I do not know.
I'm excited to hear it. I purposely don't listen to anything prior, so I'm really excited to hear. All right, so Phoebe Silva is going to sing "Everything Comes with a Price."
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna make you front and center.
Cool.
Here we go.
So yeah, the track sounds very different from just me by myself, but I'm excited to share it with you. So this is Everything Comes with a Price, now streaming on Spotify. You can buy it on iTunes. You can get it anywhere you can get music online. I just got this new guitar and the strings are still stretching out. An elderly man in a turban stared right through my very soul, foretold of my future and saw through my past, told me good fortune would be mine at last. There's two men that love you, but only one who captures your fancy, said he. I nodded in my head and he smiled and said, now will you please pay my fee? See, the magic was free, but we've got mouths to feed, and wise is worth far more than nice. And everything comes with a price. My heart opened wide as the ocean after my last great despair. The music I played was my lighthouse. It drew you to me and you made a home there. I had room for a while in the warmth of my smile and the softness that cradled your head. But the weather turned blue and the ocean ran dry, and you made a cage of my bed. See, the magic was free, but then you got greedy, and wise is worth far more than nice. And everything comes with a price. I've wandered the plains and the deserts. I've wondered out loud at the sky. If love's truly free, then what's draining me? The answer, it came from inside. We think that we're owed something special. We put faith in the stories of old. But the game's an illusion and love is the truth. And truth can't be something we're sold. See, the magic's in loving, and loving is free. But try to possess it and it always flees. You couldn't bribe me, so you tried to buy me. And since you can't love me, you'll get no more of me. And wise is worth far more than nice. And everything comes with a price. Ooh, ooh.
I loved it. You know, one of the reasons why I also don't put myself on there is because I get into the music and nobody wants to be distracted from Ted moving around.
Oh, cool.
I like the song. What I love about that simplicity was the first thing that came to mind, but the lyrics, I was really listening.
Thank you.
So true. I love that. And I had this vision of hearing that in some sort of, it's the perfect movie or TV soundtrack, episodic kind of thing.
Yes.
You know that music I'm talking about, and it fits right in. And I always go, what genre is that of music? It always captures almost exactly what's going on in the episode or in the movie at that moment. So that's beautiful.
Oh, thank
Beautiful.
you.
And where did, so tell us again, do people, I put the link here, and you're going to sing one more song, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. If you want, I'd love for you to. But I just want people to go to the right place. So that's the link there.
The link,
I've tagged you on social media.
Yeah, I gave you, I don't have a proper website set up just yet, but I gave you my link tree, which is just, it's got links to my Spotify, my YouTube. Perfect. I have a really amazing music video that just came out for a different song. And it's got a bunch of like articles, Facebook, all that stuff. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to let you take us out. I'll still come back and say goodbye. Cool. But tell us what you're singing next.
Well, I thought I would play my next single.
I love it.
Next single next. So I have this is what I like to call my quarantine song, because I feel like everybody has written at least one in the last.
Well, I mean, it's certainly something that would inspire anyone who has a creative bone in their body.
Right?
I mean,
like you're
moved,
like, I'm sitting motivated alone by myself for a million years. It took me a little while. I had some like writing I had a little writing drought for a while when things were getting really crazy earlier in the spring, but hang on.
Love it.
That's the one.
So what's the name of this song?
Sorry, I wrote it in May. It's called Nothing Lasts for Good. So that's my quarantine sentiment. Nothing lasts for good, you guys. And it's currently being mastered. It was produced by my friend Taylor Morrow, who's an indie pop producer and artist who's amazing. So it's a much poppier sound than any of my previous stuff, but I'm really psyched about it.
All right, let's do it. Here we go.
New guitar. What a time to be alive, looking out my window, gazing at the mountainside, wonder where the time goes. Are you home alone, my love, looking out yours too? on the other side of the 405, running out of things to do. The sunshine seems oppressive now that gathering's taboo. What I wouldn't give to step into the warmth and embrace you. I'm not afraid of dying. I know that when I'm gone, I'll be at peace and leave memories behind in all my songs. Still, I'm afraid of losing you, though I wonder if I could. And so I hold on to the faith that nothing lasts for good. If we'd known what tides were turning, would we have made amends instead of putting walls up, turning lovers into friends? We often have to lose some things to learn their simple worth, and so it's been for all the years we walked upon the earth. The silence seems oppressive when you're used to noise and light. The ringing in my ears is getting louder with each night. I'm not afraid of dying. I know that when I'm gone, I'll be at peace and leave memories behind in all my songs. Still, I'm afraid of losing you, though I know I never could. And so I close my eyes and pray that nothing lasts for good. Nothing lasts for good. Nothing lasts for good. There it is.
I loved it.
Thank
the
you.
whole time you're singing, I'm thinking, these are all compliments, by the way. And if you get off later and go, I hate that person, it's fine. I'm thinking Michelle Williams. Literally.
Cool.
Just that very sultry.
Super cool.
You get lost in your voice. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
Oh, that's
beautiful.
very kind of you. Thank you.
And I have to say, your setup, whereas mine is chaotic, yours is zen. You have a zen setup there.
I have to, man. This is my bedroom. This is my work, my office. This is my studio.
I mean, the whole time, like, if I wasn't looking at you or listening, I was like, oh, wow, that's so nice. It's all uniform. That was awesome. I am so thankful you came on the show. You're phenomenal. Phoebe Silva, you guys run out, look at her music, check it out. Listen to what she's putting out there. Follow her on all of her social media. Go out and support our artists, our art community. We need the support. We need to be supporting you all. You're welcome back anytime. I'd love to have you. Any singles you have coming up. But thank you so much for being on the show and for all you do.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll be back later. Thank you, Phoebe Silva. You guys, seriously, go get her stuff. Super easy. I'll send you the link myself. Have a good one. Bye, everybody.